we have gone through the first lesson in the API. So we now know that we can create a script, and when we create a script, some code will be written for us, and we can edit that code and we can add more code to do whatever we want. So that is the first thing. Last week, we used the GUI to do this thing. So we are now using the API to do the same thing. So what we want to do is to go through the code and now understand what is doing what. So what I want you to notice is as follows. In programming through Python, we are using the object-oriented Python, and everything in Python is an object. So you are going to react in an object fashion to everything you are going to do. For instance, suppose you want to create a circle. How do you do that in GUI? You first of all get a sketch plane and say, okay, I want to draw something on a sketch plane. So you get a sketch plane. And when you get a sketch plane, you now pick a circle icon, and then you place that circle icon there at a particular point of your choosing, where the center of the circle should be. And then you now supply, say, a diameter or something, and the circle is there. Now, how does the API do the same thing? Almost step by step. First of all, there is an object that you can set value to, and the value you give it becomes the name of sketch plane that you are choosing. So once you choose that sketch plane, then you now choose a circle object, and that circle object will be placed on that plane. And it is now for you to set the value for the center where it will be located and for where the radius should be. You can give all that information into your Python, and once you finish that, a circle has been created on a sketch plane. Finish. So it is just the same logic, but you are now going to be writing code to implement this logic. And the way you write the code, because it's object-oriented, is by supplying values to objects that are already in existence. Everything that you have done before is now represented by an object. So your work in writing the API is to now find where these objects are located. Sometimes it will be, the object will be located inside an object, inside another object. So it's for you to be able to find out where the object is located. By next week, I'm going to give you a graph, a map of the application programmer's interface. So once you print out that map, it will give you an idea of where to look for stuff, where to look for these objects that you are going to assign values to. If you remember that all you will do at any time in your program is to just assign a value to some objects, you will see that even though it may look tedious, like now, just to do this simple drawing, we had to have 203 lines. But you start simple, do what I told you to do today, and then after you have done what I've told you to do today, we're going to study more and then be improving and improving until you become a master of the application programmer's interface. I have a question here, Manuel Ofison. I have a question. Please stop telling me you have a question. Just type your question. Don't waste time. How do we know the particular add-in that generates a particular object? I don't know what that question is. We created the script, and we named it together. After naming it, and we edited the graph, and then we ran it. Of course, it is that script that created the object that we are doing. So I don't know. Is there something I'm not getting right in your question, Officer? Emmanuel, can you? I don't seem to understand your question. Can you ask it in another way? Or say it in Efik or BPO so that I can, well, maybe English is not your strength. Anyway, Emmanuel. How about dear Emmanuel? What do you want? Okay, Emmanuel is not responding. Is there any other question before I move on? I want to spend the rest of the time taking a look at the code. Okay, Emmanuel, okay. I say about there, you didn't even answer me. Okay. Okay. Any other question? I hope you understand your first task. Your first task is to go to the First of all, download my code, which is already given to you. It's on it can be downloaded. Then after you have downloaded it, you go to the add-in and create a script, name it. And once you've created it, try to edit it. When you try to edit it, you will see about between 15 to 18 lines of code. I want you to replace the first 12 lines with my code and run it. If you run it, you are going to see that heat exchanger there. And next lecture, we are going to discuss in detail. We are going to start today to discuss in more details why that code produced that object. We are going to go through the processes one by one. I'm still going to say some things to you on that before we end today's class. Well, if there's no further question, let me just go to Visual Studio Code and let us take a closer look at that code. Cooling 1. Oh no, let me just go to Cooling 1. I want to go to Cooling 1. Okay, so there's Cooling 1. Okay. From lines 14 to 25, you can see here, these are just some preliminary value assignments. 0. Sometimes when you want to equate something to 0, you cannot just give 0 as a value. You have to go through the long process of assigning 0 to the object ADSK core value input created by real 0. That lengthy process is compulsory because you are not working with your own, you are working in the graphical environment, and there are certain objects that can participate there. So you may not be able to just say 0. You may just not be able to say something is equal to 0. But if you define 0 as this, you might be able to assign this value later on to something, and it will know that you are actually assigning the value of 0. You will get to understand this. Don't forget that there are certain import libraries that are already there. ADSK core, that is the core Autodesk library, is already there. And it is in that core library that you have value input. That is the object that helps you to supply values to some objects. And this particular one is created by real. If you have created by real, you know that could be created by integer, that could be created by string, and so many other things. And you are right. Okay, so when you have a value, you might be able to put that value as a string, as a real number, as an integer, and then you are going to call the member function or the method called create by real of the object value input. So that is all that there is here. And then there are certain parameters that are related to the kind of things we want to do. Instead of setting numbers later on, we are going to use all these variables. But the real programming starts from here. Start from the try. In this real programming starts from the try. And inside that try module, that try compound statement, you will have, this is the one important thing, you must call the application for your design. You need to call this application and get it, because everything you are going to do rests on this application. So for instance, in the last, for example, if you want to do a user interface, it is this thing, it is the user interface, is the user interface object that is inside the ADS core application that we are going to call. If you want to start a design and you want to create a root component, it is the active product that is inside it that you are going to call. Once you call it, in this case now, we assign it to our own name called design. You can, anything on the left-hand side, you know, it's just a variable. So this is where you can do what you like. But what you have on the left here are things that are names from the library itself. So you can create a root component, and then you can create a root component, and that will be the design root component, that design being the application active product. And these are just some initial things. But what I want to end with here, before I stop, because I want you to go home. After you have tested this thing, I want you to go home and study it. Then come up with a lot of questions, then I will, as I'm explaining how these things work, then you'll be getting to understand them more and more. But what is interesting here is the way I create my sketch planes. The 3 planes I'm creating here are planes that I plan to sketch on. This is one example where the API is different from the GUI I've been using. In the GUI, you want to sketch, you create a sketch plane, you use it, finish. You want to sketch again, you go again and create a sketch plane. But when you are programming, you can create all your sketch planes at the beginning, and then you can use them later on. The program doesn't have difficulty in knowing what sketch plane to go and throw any graphic element you have. It will go and take it. When you reference the sketch plane you have created, it will go and put it there. So whereas in the GUI, you approach sketching serially. In the API, you approach it in parallel. You can be doing several sketches at the same time. So you can create all your sketch planes at the same time. It's up to you. Or you can create them one by one if you want, but you are not compelled to do it. So and then all the things you put on your sketch plane will all come under sketches, just the way it is in your browser. You know that all your sketches go to sketches. And here we have created the XY plane, we have created the XZ plane, we have created the extra plane, and all of that will come on the sketches. So when you look at the sketches, you will see all the particular element of two-dimensional graphics that is placed on them. And then something I notice in the lines 40, there may be something you might notice in lines 40 to 42, which may look to you an error, but it is not. You can see here, my XY plane is the root, is the component that I defined here, XZ construction plane. You will be expecting this to be the root component XY construction plane. And then my XZ plane is the root component XY plane. It's not the root component XZ plane, and so on. It's this confusing. Why is this so? It is so because if you look at your axis, the people who created Fusion 360, their own way of thinking is that Y-axis points up, X-axis points to your right, and then the horizontal axis is the Z-axis. But the way I think, the one that points up and down is the Z-axis. So this 3 statements gives me the correct XY plane in the way I think, the correct XZ plane in the way I think, and because I already know how they think, so I'm able to just continue working the way I want to work. So that's the thing. So my XY plane will point the way I want it to point if I do it like this. If you like, you can follow their own method, but remember that if you are following their own method, the up is Y-axis. If you just choose XY plane to be the root comp XY construction plane, and XZ to be the root comp XZ construction plane, then in that case, up is Y-axis, right is X-axis, and towards you is Z-axis. If you are happy with that, then use their own. But I'm not happy with that, so that's why I do my own. There is not much I want to discuss here. I prefer that you go home, run the code, obtain the same thing that we expect to obtain, and be confident that it works. And then after that, you come back and let us talk. What I have before I release you and let you go, we have only 19 minutes to end the class. I just want to go back to the Fusion 360 and just show you some things. So if you go to Fusion 360, in this particular place, let me just try and see these bodies here where we have the water pipe. Okay. So I want to isolate that water pipe. You can see how many arms do you have in this water pipe? I want to be sure you are awake. How many? How many arms do we have in this water pipe? Nobody's answering me. Count it. Elion, you are wrong. It's not 24. Emmanuel of the song, you are right. David Adeleke, you are wrong. It's 20. It's 20. Okay. So let me take a look at another drawing. Let's see this one. And then I want to isolate this one. How many pipes do we have in this one? This second one. Yes, 20 is the first one. So what about this one? $21, good. Okay, I want to just use this to show you the power of using the API. Now, suppose somebody was drawing a heat exchanger and it had 21 pipes. This is the path that the 21 pipes will be swept through. If it has 20 pipes, you notice that for the 21 pipes, the odd number, one of the pipes goes up, either the inlet is up and the outlet is down, or vice versa. But when you go to the other type of pipe, which is even, both of them are going down. Both the inlet and outlet are going down. Now, can you appreciate the fact that somebody who used the GUI to draw this one, we have to go through the entire process again to draw the other one, even though it's only one extra arm that these two piping systems have. Can you see how hard it will be to move from here to the other one? just a simple, a small change here. Now, when you are using the API, you can write your code in such a way that it just change to 20 to 21 and you get the other one. That's all. In fact, here, all I did to get these two is that in the one case I put 20, in the other case I put 21. And I've already coded it in such a way that it knows what to do. It knows that when it is even number, both of them will come from down. When it is odd number, one of them will come from up, the other one will come from down. It's, all that is in the logic of the program, and so the parameterization is automatic. If you write your code properly, you will spend time to do the parameterization, and once you've done that, most of other things are just going to be following, and you will not have to go through the hassle of somebody who is using the graphical user interface when you have to make simple changes that are just a matter of parameterizing the drawing. So those are the kinds of reasons why sometimes you have to do things like this. In this case now, I want to unisolate the, let's see, can I unisolate it? Let's see. Yes, I can unisolate what I isolated before. So that is what you have there. Okay, so that is what I will just, that's why I will just leave it. I want you to go home and begin to play with this, and then look through the program. And by the time you come next week, I will take you through more information on I will probably come up with the map of where you get your objects so that you will not be searching too long. And then I will also show you where you get help. I learned this some years back, and when I was doing so, there was no book to really help, but there was enough assistance from the website of Autodesk. There's the API assistance, so you can get in fact, at that point I joined the forum. The forum, you can ask questions, you can answer questions, and you begin to get promotion when you are there. So those are the kinds of things that can help you here. It's not, you are not likely to see a book that is correct because they continue changing things. So you're not likely to see a book that is correct on this. So it's better to go to the website and look at the API assistance. But before that, you get the API map, which gives you a map of all the objects that they have, and then how you can assign values to them and get your drawings done. So that is where we are going to call it quits today. It is for you to, let me just do a quick review of where we are today. Today, I gave you 2 assignments. But before I give you the 2 assignments, I sent you 2 of my drawings, my reinforced concrete bench and my drawer. I gave that to you. And then I also directed you to the Autodesk assembly, mechanical assembly tutorial, which contains like 14 videos. Please watch all the videos. Don't be lazy. Watch all the videos and watch them slowly so that you can also achieve the same thing they were achieving in those videos. So once you've done that, that is it. And then I also give you my code that generates the things I've showed you. Please, the code I gave you, I noticed there's a bug in it. So just use odd numbers. You can change the number of arms of your pipes. But for now, just use odd numbers. I've corrected the bug there, but I don't want to give you the elaborate code that has the bug controlled. I don't want to start giving you lines of code of 500. It will become overwhelming. Just take the small code of 200 lines and let us start with that. Later on, you will see we will be getting codes that are really much longer, that may be more than 1,000 lines. But again, doesn't mean anything. Yeah, you just build it. So if somebody can write a paragraph, the person can write a page. You can write a page, then you can write a chapter. You can write a chapter, you can write a book. You just take it step by step. So do not be overwhelmed by a lengthy code. There's nothing to learn the code. It's block. You see a big building, each building is built block by block. So there's nothing strange in how the building becomes that big. Just want you to know that this is something I know you can learn, and learning it at 200 level is one of the challenges I like to take. I've been teaching some of these things to students who are in their project in the final year, and I always feel so bad that they are learning so late. For me, I prefer to teach Fusion 360 to SS1 and then teach the application programming to first-year students, and then let them now learn engineering. I haven't known those things, and the things you can now teach using modern methods are just enormous. Okay, so that is what I will say here, and I will just wait for a few minutes to see whether there are questions or comments on any of the things we have discussed today, and then after, if nobody has any question in 2 minutes, we'll close today's class and then see you again next week. But please take care to work on your assignments. Take care not to submit late, and note those students who are experts at claiming they've submitted when they've not submitted and trying to run rings around me. I'm going to be ready for you this round. So I'm not going to budge. So please don't let that be your situation. So if there's any question, please let me have it in the chat room. We have only 1 more minute to go. Where are your drawings going to be uploaded? Yes. Where you have always been seeing things, so the same. So, well, Gabriel, those are things. Just go study the code. You will see the answer to your question when don't forget that that's what you are going to do. You are going to answer that question yourself because you'll be the person writing the code. Oh, don't worry. Well, so I hope I've given you enough to go and chew. So today is Tuesday, still some time to the weekend, but so please don't sleep in the weekend. Make sure you watch all the videos and practice, and then come to the next class loaded with queries and questions for me, so that we can all be happy that there's progress being made in the course. Thanks very much, and the admin can close in a minute if no other question arises, while I prepare to call it quits for today and wait for you next week. Thank you, class.